You're listening to the Grit to Growth podcast. Real talk with real business owners and professionals who built their freedom the hard way and now want more time, money, and impact.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm Levi Te Slaa with Mailbox Money in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Today, my guest is Meg McNeese, COO of Rose Group International in Spearfish, South Dakota. If you listened before, you may remember my conversation with her business partner, Dr. Rachel M.K. Hendley. Meg brings her own perspective with years of experience helping organizations manage big transitions and guide people through change. She also carries her South Dakota ranch roots with her, grit, humor, and persistence that shape how she leads. Meg, welcome to the show.
Hey, Levi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate you taking your time to share your story, both personal and business related. So let's start with the more personal side. You mind filling in kind of your background?
Yeah, sure. I grew up ranching in western South Dakota, and my dad really made sure that I didn't want to necessarily do that for the rest of my life because it's hard work and not always fruitful. We had an excavating business too, and I'll never forget. We were on this project, and I was in the ditch, and it was hot. It was so hot that day. It was like 90 degrees or more, and
What
down
part
in
of
the
the
ditch,
year?
it was even hotter. And so I was putting together drain tile, and I crawled up out of there, and Dad said, "How you doing?" I said, "Well, not good. This is not fun. I do not want to be doing this." And he said, "Good, then you'll go." This was this was the summer after my freshman year of college. He says, "Good, then you'll go back to school in the fall." It's like,
He
okay,
was
thanks.
planning it all out, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, in my career, I've done lots of work in operations, and HR, and most of the work I've done has been in industries where they're what I call clear collar industries, which are there's white collar and blue collar components both. So transportation, mining, construction, hospitality. So had a great opportunity to really understand how work works for people, whether they're in the dirt, if you will, or in the office.
Yeah, that's great. Getting all backgrounds. I think that is super. I kind of go back to if people watch The Office back in the day, there was always that huge separation between the warehouse and the actual office,
Oh,
and
yes.
getting people who know the dynamics of both, I think is super important.
Yes. Yeah. I learned a lot. I've learned a lot about that in my whole career, but I think probably learned the most when I was in mining. I was an HR manager at a gold mine and really got to understand not only, the sort of the dynamics of the office versus in the dirt folks, but also, there's engineers in mining, and that
Yeah.
brings a whole new level of no, I'm right. No, I'm right. Between, a dozer operator, loader operator, and an engineer. So,
Who has
um,
the bigger stamp, right?
yeah, that's right. It's yeah. So, anyway, yeah, I've had lots of great experiences in my career understanding how people think about work and life and how it all blends together.
That's awesome. Well, kind of lead me into the story of how you got started with a couple of the steps before you got to Rose Group that you filled in, but how'd you actually become involved with them?
Yeah, well, that was purely accidental. Well, I guess probably not if you believe that the universe doesn't have accidents. But Rachel, my business partner, and I were actually invited to dinner to help a mutual friend. We didn't, I mean, we kind of knew each other, but not really. And so we were invited to dinner to help a mutual friend with his business. And when we got done talking, whatever, she and her husband left. And then she said, "Hey, we should sit down and visit. I think we could work together a little bit." And I said, "Well, I mean, okay, whatever." I was kind of in the middle of I was kind of at one of those transitional or pivotal moments in my career where I was going to really start catapulting into executive positions and really get a foothold in what I thought was probably always going to be my goal after I graduated from college. And I was like, yeah, okay, maybe. But really, in my heart of hearts, I kind of always knew I was going to be an entrepreneur, or I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So there was a little bit of me that was like, ooh, this could be exciting.
There is that spark that that's what gets everyone hooked, right?
Yeah. So anyway, we met up and hit it off right away and started Rose Group in 20. Mm, I think we started talking in 2016 or 17 and somewhere in there. So anyway, we're about a decade old, not quite. So yeah, Rachel and I started the business and have really focused on Helix, which is our software, which is an assessment, a proprietary assessment that helps people understand how they process change. And then we wrote a book about that. And then probably the lion's share of our work is in our consulting business with Rose Group, doing project management, transformational development stuff, mergers and acquisitions, succession planning, team development, professional development, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so for those who did listen, we kind of got into more with Rachel, kind of the merger side of things and how you guys process through that. I kind of like to hear, I don't think we touched much into the succession. Would you mind kind of filling in that a little bit?
Yeah, you bet. Well, we always say there's nothing worse than leaving people with uncertainty. And in project management, really, in everything that we do, but we joke in project management, there should never be any panicking. The only way, though, to make sure that that's not happening, uncertainty and panic, is to have a plan. But when it comes to succession planning, the person who's getting ready to leave a CEO of a company, or maybe they were the owner and then they became the president or the CEO and now they want to work their way out, or just an executive in a large business, or it doesn't even have to be an executive. It could be a veteran, longtime leader in a mid-level management position, or even, a ground floor management position. If somebody has a lot of institutional credibility, it's scary when they leave. But that person isn't really thinking about how scary it's going to be without them. They're thinking about how excited they are for the next thing that they're going to do.
Yep.
So it's really interesting when we get an opportunity to work with those clients to watch everybody's reactions, because even someone who's really heads up about this happening, the person that's leaving, they're still like they're so excited they just can't help but be excited about their next opportunities, and so they're like they'll be fine, it'll be fine, it'll all work itself out, I didn't do that much here anyways, you kind of hear that from people.
Not giving
So
themselves enough credit.
yeah, and yeah, and kind of diminishing their effort or their impact so that everybody's like, yeah, maybe we will be okay without Levi, and in the meantime they're all panicking inside. So we use Helix, actually is a big part of how we help people understand how they will react in that state of change. How will they want to collaborate or not so much want to collaborate? How will they think about new leadership coming into play? And then the strategic part of that is helping the leadership team decide who's the next candidate for that position. What does it look like? Are there things that are happening right now that you love? We better keep those and make sure that the new person filling those shoes can do those things. Are there things happening right now that you don't love under that current leader? Let's talk about what the new world would look like if we made those changes, not only with a new leader, but then also for the people in the organization. So really on helping the leadership team who's making the decision on the next candidate uh, think about, in 5 years from now, even what do we want it to look like here?
That makes sense. So, you said you're about a decade. Have you guys had an early situation where you came in, implemented the plan you wanted? What does it look like after that's implemented? Are you guys still advising with those people, or is it you kind of let them run from there?
Well, I would say most of the time, once our work is done, once it's perceived that our work is done, our advisory work, people are like, okay, thanks, see you later. And we're like, okay, but we'll check in on you in a couple months and see how you're doing. And when we always do that, we always check in. But most of the time, organizations say, no, no, we got it. It's not for usually a year, 18 months, we'll have clients call back and say, remember when you told us that you should stick around for a few more months because this thing was going to happen? Like the wheels were going to fall off because people were going to be upset that that person left. And even if we had the best plan, it wasn't going to work and we should do these other things, but we said, no, we don't need to. And we go, yeah,
We
yep, remember that. Well, we
we
have
get
to
you
do,
back.
yeah, we have to do them now. And actually we've, gosh, sometimes it's like now we have a lawsuit on our hands, or, we've had a complaint filed with Department of Labor, or fill in the blank, we failed an audit because people just aren't working like they're supposed to, or our inventory's off if it's a manufacturing client. So, um, we try really hard to check up, but I think it speaks to sort of the confidence of humans generally, like, okay, no, we got this, I got this, thanks for the help. And then but that's not every case either. I mean, some
Yeah,
companies, we help them for 3 to 6 months with a succession planning transition, and then they go about their merry way, and we just see them in the street.
that's very interesting. So what you guys work all over the country, right? Not you're not just you're all over, right?
Yes, we are all over the country, and have had clients actually outside of the United States in
Oh wow.
well, a couple different parts of Europe, Canada. So yeah, we've worked all over the place.
How in the Europe are how's that been navigating that world? Is there language barrier or anything like that?
Yeah, actually, so we worked with a client, a huge multinational reinsurance client, and they bought out all their competitors in a sort of a part of their market, like around London, but outside of London. And it with the thing that was so funny, so I had an opportunity to speak to, I interviewed probably 80 people or 100 people in their organization because we're trying to figure out where there's duplication of effort, and what positions make sense in the organization, the way it would be structured in the future. And it's funny, even like a British accent is so different in so many places. I'm sure just the same for them as it is in the United States. But holy cow, some of them were really hard to understand. I'm like, could you speak more slowly? I think the biggest challenge that I've had with language barrier or understanding is working with IT companies based out of the Middle East, that their dialect is so much different than ours that it's just, but
100%.
they'll, I say, hey, could you say that again? And oh yeah, no problem. So that in South Africa, I had a client in South Africa that was pretty fun. They have different, like the power would just go out and be out, and then so I'd get like a text message, hey, sorry, we can't have our meeting right now. We'll let you know when the power's back on. Like,
Things you're not
we
really running into here in South Dakota.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, not unless there's a big storm or something,
Yeah.
like in the wintertime, but otherwise, yeah, we generally don't have to worry about that too much. So, yeah, lots of
Very
different interesting challenges.
That is very interesting. Have you seen growing up here in South Dakota? I didn't catch exactly where you went to college, but you spent most of your life around here. Is there things that you can tell that we are doing much differently around here that maybe the rest of the country slash world is? Is there things that you would like to change about them, or is there things that you think South Dakota should be changing on too?
Oh, yeah. Um,
A lot in that question. I know that.
yeah, I think, yeah, I grew up here, lived here most of my life, and actually I went to school in Omaha, at Creighton University. So
Okay.
that
Not
was,
too. Yep.
yeah, it was different. That was definitely different than you know, living in the country in Western South Dakota, but it wasn't so much different, it's still kind of the Midwest of the United States. So, um, I don't know that anything, that we're doing in South Dakota is good or bad. I do want, I have kids that are, teenagers, so I wonder sometimes if they're getting good opportunities, or equal opportunities, as good opportunities as maybe kids who are in bigger school systems or have, closer to businesses where they could have better internships, larger businesses, and have better internships or more internship options. So I think about that sometimes, but I think honestly, by and large, and especially since 2020, I think South Dakota has really sort of upped its game on being I don't know, responsible and viable and present day.
Yeah, I agree with you very much on that. I think you're seeing more and more businesses realize it too, and starting to the coasts are starting to come in because they realize the stability around here.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. So you've obviously worked with a lot of executives. What's one thing that you wish they kind of understood more, maybe about their employees slash responsibilities? Um, yeah, talk to me on that.
I think the thing that would be, if I think the thing that's probably the most important for executives to know or think about, um, is that the most executives will say, well, gosh, why didn't anybody tell me? We have this issue in this department, or and by the time an executive hears about it, it's a crisis, for the company, especially if they're publicly traded. So I think, but to, us outside looking in, we go, well, nobody's going to tell you, like a kid isn't going to crash their car or back into, another kid's vehicle in the high school parking lot and then run home and tell their parents, except for my oldest daughter, because she does, which we're like, you should tell us everything, but maybe you shouldn't. That's not normal. But like you're
That's
just,
amazing.
yeah, like the kids aren't gonna tell the parents what's going on exactly all the time. And
Yep.
not to diminish adult employees to kids, but the relationship as far as authority goes is similar. And so I think the thing that an executive needs to understand is that you probably aren't going to get the full story, and to just let that be the truth and not be frustrated about it, and then figure out how you can get more information and create that genuine um, trust relationship with, your direct reports, and then maybe if you can, if you have time, to get down even into some of those folks on the floor to understand what it is that makes them tick, and let them know that you're a human. I think that's another
Yeah.
thing, that we sort of glorify executives, again, just because that's the nature of things. And they don't want, most executives I've ever met do not need that at all. They don't think that they're fancy. They don't think they're smarter than anybody else. And they try to present themselves that way, but I think they forget how not human they seem to other people.
Yeah, that's a great. Do you have any kind of tips on how they might be able to humanize themselves more?
Yeah, I think this kind of sounds maybe silly, but I honestly, like, one of the biggest things I think that I've noticed just watching dynamics of people in a organization setting, once in a while, like on Fridays, if they have like a jeans Friday, or a casual Friday, to actually participate in that. A
Yeah.
CEO walking into a boardroom in jeans, and a polo shirt, like people they're almost uneasy about it. But they're like, Okay. And it does something too. I think it depends on the organization you're in and the culture of the organization. So that might not be the most practical advice for every executive, but I think at the same time, it kind of is, in the sense that that is the sort of thing that makes you human. That sort of action supersedes uh the traditional, we're a suit kind of company. We work 8 to 5. We're very, traditional in the way we do
But
things.
no,
So
yeah.
so I think that, I mean, there's probably 1,000 I could think of, but if I was going to give just one, if an executive was like, I sit on a pedestal in my office all day long and people won't ever come talk to me, what do I do? I'd say, wear jeans on Friday. Try that out once. Go walk around in the organization, in the shop or on the floor, or, in the, 2 floors below you, and where people are working, and just visit with people, and you'd be shocked because they'll be shocked. So
Yeah.
you'll be shocked at the reactions you'll get.
A couple jaws dropped, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a great piece of advice. Well, Meg, what's kind of looking ahead? What's something you're excited about for both Rose Group and yourself personally coming up maybe in the next months or year or so?
Oh my gosh, we have so much to be excited about right now. I don't know if I could pick one thing. I think the thing that's really cool for us is we're going to focus some extra energy and attention on Helix, our software, and we're sort of talking with a couple of famous people to kind of be the highlight, do some highlight reels and talk about Helix
Nice.
and how it works for them and their business and how it makes sense. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think that'll be really fun to see, how that gets Helix up and moving in a new way. We've got lots of people, thousands of people in the system, but we're kind of doing another campaign and another drive to get a lot more people in there. And so we haven't really focused on Helix and not in that sort of a big way in a long time. So I'm pretty excited for that exciting adventure.
Is it so that's going to be like a whole advertising campaign then? Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah, yep, that's our plan.
That's very exciting. Well, I hope that goes extremely well for you guys.
Yeah.
If people want to reach out, learn more about you and connect, where would you send them? But also, if they were looking for the services of Rose Group, where would you send them for that?
Yeah, sure. Well, you can reach out to me in my email, which is on our website. I won't go through all the ats and dots and everything, because it's on the website. You can find me, Rachel, and the rest of our team at rosegroupintl.com. If you want to take the Helix assessment, it's at helixassessment.com. And we'd be happy to. We also have a newsletter, so you can sign up for that through the Rose Group website. So we're happy to visit with people anytime to see if they've got challenges we can support them on, or if they just want to shoot the breeze and talk to us about the crazy stuff we're doing. And I should say too, if anybody's interested in our book, they can grab that on Amazon in all three of the
What
ways: Audible and uh, a book, and then what's the other thing? Kindle. Yep.
what's the title of the book?
Yeah, it's IX Leadership: Create High Five Cultures and Build Transformation.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll make sure we get that all in the description for everyone. And I'd encourage everyone, and I will check that out myself. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Meg, thank you so much for being here, sharing your story, sharing Rose Group's story. It is much appreciated. And thank you again.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me.
Thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you on the next one.
Know someone with serious grit and a great growth story? Send them our way at grittogrowthpodcast.com/guest.